Hey cats and chicks, it's Slickback Rocker here, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of my record collection. This time we're going to be going through the 60s records from the rock and roll era. Let's get into it, shall we? Alright, this is kind of the end of the 50s era for vinyl that I own. So we're going to go through this. Dion's Greatest Hits. Dion is a doo-wop artist, for those of you who don't know who he is. Next up, Frank Sinatra, Nothing But the Best. Can't go wrong with a little jazz like Frank Sinatra. Four-sided vinyl. And it's blue, my favorite color too, so that's always a plus. I only really played this next one here on Christmas. And that's because it's Frank Sinatra's iconic Christmas. Yeah. He has a really good cover of Jingle Bells on here, man. Good album. For Christmas, that is. Next up, we have Ricky Nelson. Ricky is 21. Love Ricky Nelson, man. Fantastic artist. Yeah. Good album right here. Gotta love Ricky Nelson, man. Next up, we have the Everly Brothers 26 Big Hits 2-record set. Not much of a fan of the Everly Brothers, but they had some okay stuff. Some of their songs were okay. They did a couple cover songs as well, so, you know, gotta love that. Next up, we have the Best of the Doors. So now we're officially getting into the 60s with the Best of the Doors here. Good old Jim Morrison. Next up, we have the Beatles debut album, Please Please Me. The debut album of the Beatles, which changed this band changed rock and roll forever, as we know it. Next up, we have With the Beatles' second studio album. Just a nice, simple black and white cover. Nothing too crazy. Next up, we have the original soundtrack from the 60s. Original motion picture soundtrack, The Beatles' Hard Day's Night. This is the original one from the 60s. And I have the remake version as well, here that I'm going to show next, which is this one right here. This is the remake. And this is also the UK version, and this is the USA version. You can tell there's clearly some differences between these two, but for the most part, they're both the same album. There's some different tracks from the USA to the UK version, but for the most part, they're both the same album, just a little bit different. All right, the red one's the USA one. The blue one is the UK. Personally, I prefer the UK over the US. But that's just me, and that's what I prefer. You can prefer what you want. Next up, you have the Beatles' fourth studio album, Beatles for Sale. I never really heard this one until last year, surprisingly. I've never heard, as long as I've been a Beatles fan, I've never heard this Beatles album until last year officially. Last year was the year I officially heard this album all the way through, and I love it, man. It's a good album. The Beatles do a really good cover of Carl Perkins' Honey Don't and Words of Love by Buddy Holly. 8 Days a Week. This whole album's a good album, man. And it opens up, so you get a little inside here. And there's all 4 of them on the back. Next up, you have the Beatles' 5th studio album and 2nd movie, Hard Day's Night. Beatles' 6th studio album, Rubber Soul. I got this for my birthday last year because I was missing this album from the album collection set. I didn't have it yet, so I officially now have it in my vinyl collection for the Beatles. Alright, next up, Revolver, the 7th studio album of the Beatles, and possibly one of my favorite ones, if not my favorite. This album is a classic. Every song on here from front to back is good. Alright, next up you have the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. Next, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I know this is out of order, but I don't have the rest of the albums, unfortunately. So next up is, for me, the Beatles, Abbey Road. And then we got, next up, the Beatles, Let It Be. And last but not least, for the 60s, the Beatles, One. This is just a big fucking album of 4 vinyls of Beatles hits. And some of these songs aren't officially on albums, so this is kind of a good reason why I bought this thing, because some of these songs are not officially on albums. They're just soundtracks for the movies, so that's one of the reasons why I purchased this. If you know the Beatles, then you know which songs I'm talking about. But yeah, some of these are not officially on Beatle albums, so I had to buy this whole album containing hits and some Beatles tracks that are officially not on albums. So, I'm going to show you the inside here for this one because it's got some detailing and art on the inside for the cover of the vinyl. So I'm going to show you the inside of this one. This is the second vinyl. And this is the back of it. Now, normally I wouldn't do this, but considering that there's art for this album, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Also was a piece of paper in here as well. It's like a little poster here. Looks like. Which I never officially realized. This is a poster. Oh no shit, badass. Got a little poster here, guys. Didn't even notice was even in here. Look at all this. It just keeps going. The Beatles albums. That's cool. I never officially noticed that. Oh fuck, I may have fucked this up. Now I don't know how to close this shit. Oh, hold up. Hold up, I think I figured it out. Okay, we're good. And then when I open that stuff up, and then I'm like, okay, how the fuck do I close this shit? I got it. We're good. They made that one easy. Alright, now this is vinyl 1. Alright. It's a lime green color here. And there's the back. Yeah. So yeah, that is part 2 of my vinyl collection. If you want a part 3 of my 70s and 80s vinyl, hit that like button down below. And I'll most likely probably do a part 3. Because I got more vinyl right back there. My punk rock vinyls and my rockabilly and all that other stuff is back there. So I'm trying not to keep these videos too long, so that way, you know, not wasting space on my camera and things not taking 5 years to upload to YouTube on my channel. So hopefully y'all enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, share. I will see y'all next video, which is probably going to be another record collection until I get done showing them off. Do you dig? I will see y'all later, cats and chicks. Peace.